Welcome back. Well, you know, sports are big here in Alabama, but sometimes parents get too wrapped up in child's activities. And joining us today is UAB psychologist Dr. Josh Claypo with some tips and reminders for parents when they're at some of these youth sporting games. And I'll tell you a story. My son had a baseball scrimmage a couple weeks ago against a team. That coach was pretty intense, you know, and that can lead to some damage later in life, right?
How old's your son?
6.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, not 16.
No.
6. Yes.
I know, and it was kind of scared me.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where I think for the most part, parents, adults have great intentions, or good intentions.
Right.
But we get lost psychologically in the relationship between what we're doing and what our kids are doing. And it's very easy. It happens to all of us. And that's why I brought in these kind of warning signs that some people may snicker at. But I'm going to tell you that for most parents, this happens very often.
It's sort of a fine line of like trying to develop your child as an athlete and wanting the best for them and developing those skills, but also not being too hard on them.
Absolutely. And let me say this, it's not even just for sports. It's really anything that your child is doing. It could be academically, it could be in the creative arts, and so it's not just sports. But the first one is, it's called merging with your child.
Okay.
You hear parents do this all the time. Oh, we had a good game, or we had a bad game. We tried really hard. The second you say we, you now, even if it's just a slip of the tongue, even if it's not really what you mean, you now have not created separation between you and them. It's not we.
Yes.
It's them.
Yes.
Everything is them.
Yes.
But as soon as you start doing it, now you've stepped too close. Now, is that a giant red flag? No, but it is something to become aware of.
Okay.
The next one, we hear this all the time, live vicariously through your child.
Right, yeah.
So what this means, though, if we kind of peel back the layers a little bit, what this means is your self-worth, your self-esteem is really being driven by how well or how poorly your child does.
Okay.
And again, I caution parents, take a pause and think about that. How do you feel about yourself depending on how your child does, either in a game or in academics or in anything? Third one, placing your happiness on your kid's shoulder.
Ooh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, your child succeeds, they have a great game, they have a great performance, you're in a great mood, that's wonderful. They fail or they lose, you may feel bad for them, but how is your mood? If you can't bounce back yourself, now the pressure of your emotions is being put on their shoulders. Not fair.
And how can you teach your kids to bounce back from it if you're not bouncing back from it, and how to handle it?
Exactly. And even if they're not bouncing back quickly, the worst thing you can do is you not bounce back because you didn't play the game.
Right.
You didn't go to the concert. You didn't score. You didn't have the grades. You didn't do any of that. Last one is losing perspective. This is one that we don't talk about, but a lot of us parents think about. Oh, my child's gonna be the one who gets the scholarship. We don't say it publicly,
right,
but internally we're thinking about it. And the problem with that is a lot of times we then end up pushing our children in a direction because we think they've got the potential to get the scholarship, to go pro, whatever. And we all know statistically, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It could happen, but you can't be planning for it, because if you're planning for it, now you're pushing your child way too hard.
So what can happen if parents lose perspective and don't look at these red flags and don't see these red flags?
Two things happen. Number one, the research shows that most children will drop out of particularly athletic activities by age 12, 13.
Wow.
Number one reason, they say they don't like it anymore, and usually that's being driven because their parents are putting too much pressure on. So the very thing you want your child to do, they're going to push back. The other thing is you develop a very unhealthy relationship with your child. They start resenting you because the thing that they want to do that's fun no longer becomes fun, and it becomes tied to discipline and family dynamics, and that's not a good thing. Parents have to check themselves constantly. And I say this because I say this as a parent who's pushed his kids. We all do it, but I think if we pay attention to these things, then we can check ourselves. And as long as we're checking ourselves, pulling ourselves back, we're going to be okay.
I hope that baseball coach that we played a couple weeks ago is listening to this and not going to be too hard on those 6-year-olds.
6-year-olds.
I know. All right, Dr. Josh Claypo, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Claire.
We'll be right back after this.